Then in 1965, a fateful chain of events began in Namu, a tiny Canadian fishing port in British Columbia. Ted Griffin first came here 25 years ago. He came in response to reports of a captured killer whale trapped in a rocky cove near Namu. Accidentally snared in a fisherman's net, a 4-ton bull killer whale was offered for sale. For showmen and scientists alike, this was the prize of prizes. Only a few had ever been taken alive, and none survived in captivity. But the problem was how to move the huge animal. Ultimately, only Ted Griffin, an upstart young aquarium owner from Seattle, was ready to take on the whale. He had to pay for it in cash, $8,000 that would bond him forever to the killer whale he named Namu.
How will you be bringing him down? What happens to your $8,000 if you lose the whale?
If the whale dies or gets away, we're out $8,000 plus an additional $2,000 to $3,000 we've already spent in securing it. And I would imagine that before this journey is over, we'll have an expense in something in excess of $30,000.
Small whales and dolphins had been captured before, but this was another matter. Griffin's aquarium in Seattle was 450 miles away. On the dock at Namu, Griffin started building a unique floating pen for the whale. Only 29, Griffin was bursting with energy and confidence. Local residents ridiculed his whale cage, but by the time it was finished, they all rallied to help him. Amazingly, Namu accepted his new home. He swam along inside the pen as a strange voyage began. Even now, it seemed clear that Namu was not dangerous to humans. He was gentle and curious. Before long, he and Ted Griffin became friends. The story of the captured whale and his young owner was a sensation by the time they reached Seattle. On his arrival, thousands of people turned out to see Namu. It was the biggest thing ever to hit Griffin's small-time aquarium.
Can you say Namu? Right hand. Namu? Namu? Hey, that sounds like Namu, all right.
Gotta kill a whale.
I guess it was bound to happen. There was bound to be a song written about Namu the whale, and a rock and roll song at that.
Take it, Namu.
A few weeks before, no one knew or cared much about killer whales. Now a kind of Namu madness swept the Northwest.
Namu the killer whale.
As a child, Ted Griffin had dreamed of owning a pet whale and becoming a popular hero. Now it was all happening, thanks to Namu.
I, at the time, had always wanted to state that the killer whale was really friendly to man, and that there was no serious reason to continue their fear of the whale. There's been a lot of fear of the killer whale. So, in order to get people to identify with the whale, I tried to make him human. I tried to make the people see the whale as a friendly companion.
Namu soon astonished the world with his good nature, intelligence, and charm. The largest species of dolphin, killer whales seem to thrive on plenty of attention and fresh fish served daily. But people were still scared of the whale. One of Griffin's favorite stunts was to stage an accident while feeding Namu. Horrified onlookers were still gasping when it became clear that Ted and Namu were putting them on. Griffin was the first man to swim with a killer whale, a daring act that led to total trust and acceptance. A popular movie was made starring Namu, and millions got their first close-up look at a killer whale. Now, anything seemed possible.
The whale, as we say, was paying his way. But here's the whale eating well and performing well, and the attendance at the aquarium is very good. The people are lined up, and the money is stacked so high that it tips over, and I just love it.
But back in Seattle, Ted Griffin rarely questioned his tremendous success with Namu. He was totally engrossed in his life with the whale.
I'm working with Namu every day, and it's love at this point. I mean, I love this whale. And I'm trying to say to myself, how can I maintain that association, want him to be free like I am to swim around, and yet keep him captive? And it's what I call an anomaly. It's something that I can't quite resolve. So if someone comes at me and says, Ted, how can you do it? I don't want to talk to them about it because I can't really give them a good, clear-cut answer.
Then, with no warning, Namu died. He contracted an infection brought on by polluted water in his pen. Many people turned on Ted Griffin. He had wanted Namu to seem like a person, and now that person was dead. It was July 1966. Namu had lived in captivity 11 months.
At the time, I refused to believe that he was dead. It actually got to the point where 3 or 4 months later, there was a fictitious story that came out of Australia that said Namu was secretly living in Australia at some private home or residential place. And when I read that story and I had somebody repeat it to me, I believed it. I wanted it to be true, and so I believed it. And I guess it's in a way of trying to remove whatever responsibility I may have had for the passing of the whale.
Ted Griffin continued to capture and sell killer whales. But eventually he quit the business and all but disappeared. Everything had changed for him because of Namu. Perhaps the first human to own a killer whale, Griffin was the first to realize that the whale owned him too.